Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Blue Collar Sports Talk, September the 14th. We're going to look at some Husker volleyball. We have to talk Husker football. Saturday, we take on Northern Illinois at home. Staying in the Big Ten, we'll take a look at Minnesota Gophers at number 21, North Carolina. TCU at Houston. Nebraska's next opponent, Louisiana Tech, will be at home taking on University of North Texas. Moving over to the NFL, we'll take a look at Thursday night's game, Vikings at the Eagles. Ravens at the Bengals. Do the Chiefs bounce back week 2 against the Jags? We'll take a look at that game. Packers at the Falcons. Bears at the Bucks. The Jets fly into Dallas to take on the Cowboys. And we'll look at Washington at the Broncos. Now here's our show. All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Blue Collar Sports Talk. We've got a full house in the bedroom recording studio. Daryl here, September the 14th.
Peter here.
Yeah, we got another coworker along with James here.
Morning.
And we're going to kick off into some Husker volleyball. They played Tuesday night. I didn't get to watch any of it, kind of busy night at work. I did read some stuff about it. First time we've knocked off Stanford since 2008, I believe.
Yes.
And the prior 6 matches, we didn't even take a set one. We took set 1. And we've lost the last 10 opening sets, I think. Or, I'm sorry, lost the last each opening set 1 in the last 6 matches.
Yeah.
And then we took set 2, lost set 3, and then came back and took set 4.
And, you know, I've only really been watching Husker volleyball for, I'd say, 4 years now, maybe 5. And the biggest thing I noticed in this game, it's the freshmen, the young ones, including Merritt Beeson, who came over. She was the one they fed all day. I think she had like 26, 28 swings, 17 some kills. I don't know exact numbers, but it's up there. She was the most dominant one. But these girls are swinging hard, and you can tell early in that first set, Stanford was used to the guiding hit that Nebraska's been doing the last 3 or 4 years, where they hit it, but they don't really kill the ball. And it's easy to dig it. It's easy to play D, easy to block it. And from the first serve, these girls were just swinging hard and into it. And it really caught Stanford off guard. First 2 sets, second set wasn't even close. Just murdered them. It was great all around. The third set, obviously, Stanford was clicking. Nebraska Cook made the right adjustments for that 4th set, and it was a close one.
Yeah, you mentioned Beeson. She had 15 kills. Harper Murray, true freshman, 12 kills. Andy Jackson, true freshman, 8 kills. Becca Alex, 7 kills, and a career-high 8 blocks. And then Lindsay Krause also had 7 kills.
Krause wasn't much of a factor. It's kind of weird. She would, show up here and there, and I don't know if she has an injury or I don't know, but she did not get set much. She did. I mean, she was there, but I didn't really.
I mentioned this.
Her.
Our incoming freshmen have kind of unseated Allie Batenhorst even as a starter.
Right.
So Cook's job is tough. When you come in and you have to tell former Gatorade All-America,
right,
coming in as players that, hey, you're not going to start, and then for them to accept it and just win continuously. So next up for the Huskers, Sunday, Kentucky, number 21, comes to Bob Devaney. Another one of the coaching tree branch offs. The head coach is a former Husker assistant. You were saying there, James?
If you get next time you guys watch a game, when Harper goes to serve, I'm not saying she's perfected this serve, but she did it 3 out of 4 times where she hits the tape and it rolls over. She had
That's
3
tough to do.
aces. Yes.
That scares
Twice
me
in a row.
because just a little under and then it stays on your
True.
side.
No, you're right. Yeah. So first time she did it literally right, and I was like, oh, she got lucky. Then she did it exactly the same again, and even the announcer was like, I think that's planned.
It's kind of like a 3-point shooter. You get your spot and you know exactly where you're going. She's shooting her shot.
Yeah, and she's a freshman. So then they flipped sides, and another set, and she did it. Didn't hit the tape as much, but same result. It tipped the tape, fell over, but she served so hard, they give her that cushion, they back up. And yeah, so if you watch and she's doing that, she's planning that. I told the wife, I was like, if she does it one more time, she's working on it. And sure enough, she did. And so just something to watch. I think that's amazing, especially as a freshman, to start developing that serve where the defense is going to be like, oh, crap.
I'm looking forward to the next couple of years especially coming with UCLA, USC coming into the Big Ten. We're going to see a lot more of great volleyball coming from the West Coast. And we're going to have to really pick up good players to compete in that scene and that level.
An already tough Big Ten going to get stronger with
Yeah.
the addition of those teams. You're right.
I think we need 2,000 more seats in that stadium. I'm just saying we need to make it to 10.
Oh, it would fill it. Honestly, I think
Yes.
if they had 20, I think they'd sell out easily. Staying in the Huskers arena, we're going to move on to the football. Last week, I'd mentioned about recipes for disaster. What to stay away from? Well, unfortunately, they hit every single one. And Colorado, I'd mentioned keys to success. They hit every single one.
They didn't throw for 500 yards.
I said they had to equal 500-plus total yards.
Oh, so you're telling like returns because they didn't have 100 yards rushing. But
No,
I think he threw for like 320 something.
No, you're right,
Yeah.
but they their total yards were 454. So they didn't hit that, but they hit all. I mean, when you're within 50 yards of 500, I'm gonna skew towards they got it.
Yeah.
They only had one turnover. They had fewer penalties than they actually had more penalties than us, but they got it done. How do you not win when we give you the ball 4 times in turnovers? So
and all I'm going to say is I'm not giving the Colorado defense credit on the turnovers except the interception. That was well played by that corner, cutting the route. The other ones, none of those were stripped by the defense. They were simply dropped by Nebraska, and they recovered it. So to me, I'm like, it is a takeaway. On paper, it looks great for them. But Colorado has to look at it and go, dude, we got lucky. Opening drive, they're driving right down the field, doing whatever they want within field goal range, maybe a touchdown, who knows, but even if it's 3 points, and we give it back to them. So all that momentum Nebraska was stealing, taking the air out of the stadium, we gave them right back. And then once again, another nice little drive, fumbled pretty much about the same way. And again, all the air out of the stadium is right back in them because we're giving them the ball. I mean, you literally gave them 10 points when the defense was playing amazing. They were getting to Sanders. They were sacking him.
okay, so we gave them 20.
Throws.
We gave them 10 points. They still
Before
win.
half.
They still win.
They only got 10 points before half. But you flip that over. Take away those 10 from them, give it to Nebraska. You know what I'm saying?
But it didn't happen. I give Colorado all the credit. I give Colorado all the credit.
Yep.
I do.
Yep.
Because this is unfortunately the same things that we've been dealing with for the last 2 years. And it's turnovers and penalties and little things that hurt you. So the better team won't have those. Colorado didn't. I understand what you're saying, that you think, hey, if Nebraska would have done these, they would have won. They didn't do those.
Right. So how do you give Colorado credit? Nebraska does this for every
Because they didn't have any of the turnovers.
You're going to give Minnesota credit when Nebraska handled the game?
Colorado had 396 yards passing.
Well, yeah.
0 interceptions. And they still won after having 9 penalties. So to have that much offense to overcome your shortcomings
and
your mistakes, they did it. Nebraska didn't. So I understand what you're saying. You want Nebraska to win. And it hurts me to give Colorado that much credit because in my mind they deserve it. I think everybody that's on Colorado's schedule this year is going to be shocked. And I think they're the real deal.
It was 2 weeks in a row now that they've been the real deal. They beat TCU that first game, and that was just a utter dogfight shootout, and they came through in that one, and now coming through. And honestly, to say that they spanked Nebraska wouldn't be out of the realm because they really controlled the game.
The time of possession was really close, 30 minutes and 19 seconds for Colorado, 29 minutes and 41 seconds for Nebraska. We did give them the game, but Colorado did everything they needed to do to win, and we did everything we needed to do to give it away. So that was our lead into this Saturday's home opener. Huskers are on Fox Sports 1 against Northern Illinois. A few days ago, the line was 11.5, and the overs were set at 43. That was 2 days ago. And let's see, has the line moved? Nope, it's still the same. So, James, what do you think about this one?
It all depends on the quarterback, honestly. As of yesterday, they haven't made a decision. I'm still confused. I'm a big fan of Matt Rule, you know this, but I don't know how you come out and say if you turn the ball over, you can't play, and yet Sims somehow is still in the game after halftime in a Colorado game, for one. If he starts this game, I think it sends a bad taste to a lot of fans' mouth. I don't see any reason why Harburg or Chubba don't start this game. One of the two, whoever wins it out. I don't think Sims should be an option to start this game whatsoever, but obviously I'm not coaching the team. I don't see the practices, but if Sims plays and turns the ball over twice in the first half, then what? And we're only up 3 or 6 points. Defensively, the only thing I have against Nebraska right now is they haven't taken the ball away. They're top in the nation in sacks. They got one of the best rush defenses, giving up less than 2 yards a carry. Defensively, I think they're set. Now, right now, the offense has got to wake up, and it starts the guy under the center. So if it's not working, I think we got to make some changes.
All right, and obviously you're taking UNL.
Oh, yeah.
You're taking the Huskers. Peter, what do you think about this?
I think that they need to continue to run the ball, and they need to get started there and give Sims a shot this week. I understand he's a turnover machine, but give him a shot against a team with maybe lesser competition, and he could come out, get some reps, get something going to where he's maybe starts into the conference schedule where he's got some confidence. You got to start a guy getting some confidence. I look at it a lot like what we're dealing with right now with the Jets, Zach Wilson. Got to get a guy some confidence. And so I could see it with the Huskers, starting Sims, if he's your best option, maybe it's the other two guys, maybe not, but get some run game going too. Give that guy some help. If he's turning balls over with fumbles and with interceptions, man, get the ball out of his hands. At least he's on the field. At least he's getting reps. At least he's starting to feel it. But get the ball out of his hands too. Have him start that run game out, and maybe a couple play action passes later, you'll be all right. But I'll take the Huskers as well.
I haven't heard his Sims. Last I heard, Sims might be a little banged up, and he's questionable. He's
still
starting?
Questionable because of his ankle. And I said, as of yesterday, they said they hadn't made a decision who was starting.
Okay.
After the practice, whatever. But you tell them to run the ball, they're over 5 yards a carry. Irvin only had 17 carries. Ramir Johnson only had 11. And then Sims himself had 10. Yeah, they didn't throw the ball as much as they ran it. But you're right. There's no reason this team can't run the ball 40, 45 times a game.
Get back to that smash mouth offense, man.
If that's your strength.
If you got big offensive linemen who go out there and just kill a guy, let them do it. They love that kind of stuff.
In 2 games, we've averaged over 200 yards, just a little over 200 yards rushing. And it's our passing that kills us, as well as our turnovers, fumbles, and interceptions. Our rush allows 56 yards average for 2 games so far, but we're allowing 300 yards average passing. So Northern Illinois shouldn't be that tough. Obviously, with the line set at 11.5, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't want to bet the 11.5 line. I would
not with the way Nebraska's offense has been playing. I wouldn't bet that line.
If I was to take something, I would take the unders at 43. Last week, Northern Illinois lost to Southern Illinois, the Salukis, 14-11. Prior to that, they can put up points. They took Boston College to overtime and beat them 27-24. But I don't know. Yeah, Nebraska wins, but I would take unders. Moving on to now, when I printed this out, I have La Tech and University of North Texas last, but since they're our next opponent, let's talk about them next. And Louisiana Tech will play Nebraska next after Northern Illinois. And that's the only reason we're talking about Louisiana Tech being at home against University of Northern Texas. And they're favored by 4.5. It should be an interesting matchup. The overs are set at 68, so they must put up really stout points and have just the weakest defense around.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised that the line is so small. Louisiana Tech, even defensively, only 130 yards passing allowed and giving up 190 on the ground. But Northern Texas has given up over 300 yards passing and almost 300 yards rushing a game. So maybe they, have a history. I don't know if this is somewhat of a rivalry game. I don't know the two teams that well. But I don't think Northern Texas is going to have much of a problem. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I don't think Louisiana Tech's going to have much of a problem with this game. Like, Peter said, I think it'll be more of a momentum builder going into the Nebraska game and working on what they want to work on. I mean, they're throwing for 230, rushing for 170. So that plays right in the hands. And I think Northern Texas is going to have their hands full. I would go way over it. I'd take the points and run on this one.
Yeah, and the overs actually went to 69.
Yeah.
So they realized the defense was lacking on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about over-under, but I take Louisiana Tech and the points all day. If it's only 4.5, I can see them winning by double digits, honestly.
I'm going to take Louisiana Tech and overs just for the fact that last week in Northern Texas loss to Florida Atlantic, they scored combined 80 points. And
The week before that, going against Cal.
yeah,
You mean you're right there? You're playing a D1 school and you're scoring 21 against a D1 school. Yeah. If you're looking at them scoring 39 and 21 in the last 2 weeks, you're looking at, a good number.
And they're at home.
Oh yeah, and you're looking at Louisiana Tech, 51, 38, 22 in their last 3 games. You're going to make that 69 number easy.
I would think so.
I think I'd take Louisiana Tech with the over as well. And I think it would 71, 73 wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility.
Right. When the yards allowed is just crazy high for both schools.
Yeah.
We just briefly wanted to mention them, so we're going to move on to the Big Ten. Minnesota was our first game. We unfortunately lost to them in a close one at Minneapolis. And now the Gophers are taking on number 21 North Carolina on Saturday, 2:30 p.m. ESPN game. Guys, what do you think about this one?
It's at UNC too?
Yeah.
Man. We'll see how the humidity goes because, you get down there in that south part of the United States and half the time, that was one thing that was surprising to me about this last week with especially the football schedule for the professionals was there was so much rain in all those games.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
Usually, you get your first September games, you're looking at just hot weather. Guys are out there cramping up, doing all the things. If Minnesota goes down to UNC, starts cramping a little bit, I could see this one going south for them real fast. So I would take UNC. I'm not going to take that over number, though. I'd say under the 50.
And it's actually changed. So 2 days ago, UNC was favored by 7.5. Now it's gone up to 8. The overs have stayed at 50. But last week they played Appalachian, and they had to take 2 overtimes to get it done, 40-34. So I'm not saying that they have the best. I'm not saying they have the worst because they also have already beaten South Carolina 31-17. Now we know what Minnesota can do. They held us to 10. They held Eastern Michigan to 6 and put up 25 points. I'm all day long on the unders, and I'm going to say Minnesota upsets them on the road.
I 100% agree. This Minnesota team, it's only young. I know short years so far. It's only 2 games. They remind me a lot of Iowa last year. Defense is amazing. They're going to get after the ball. They're going to get some turnovers and just have to wait until all of a sudden the offense gets an accidental touchdown, right? So I think in Carolina, I've watched them play. I watched the South Carolina game on the replay. I did not see any of the Appalachian State besides highlights. They don't look great defensively to me. Looking at their stats, they're allowing 300 yards passing and over 100 yards rushing. Plays right into the hands of Minnesota, who likes to run the ball 180 yards at 75 a game. So, yeah, I'm going to take Minnesota in the upset. Again, it's both 2-0. I guess Minnesota's just not getting a lot of respect because they're not scoring. But North Carolina, I think, is a week 2-0 and somehow ranked in the top 25. So, yeah, I'll take Minnesota on this one.
Did you take? I'm sorry, Peter, I missed it. Did you take Minnesota or North Carolina?
I'm taking North Carolina, but I'm thinking this game is not going to be a high-scoring affair.
Right.
Looking at Minnesota's last 2, I mean, you should have beat Eastern Michigan by more than 21 points. What was it, 20 points?
25-6.
Yeah, 19 points against a team that's, what, a D2? Come on.
Yeah.
You got to put up a couple more points than that if you're a Big Ten school. And even their first game against Nebraska, they only put up 13. I'm not looking at their offense getting scared. It's one of those things where, come on, you got to put up more points than that if you're going to compete in the Big Ten, if you're going to compete in D1 at all.
The point James made is attributing their style this year to what Iowa did last year. They rarely scored over 20, but still found ways to win.
Yeah. It's to manage the game and let the defense do all the work, which unfortunately Nebraska needs to take that model until Jeff Sims gets his
act together.
Right. Figures out the offense. I don't know what it is, but run the ball 19 times in a row. I don't care. Punt it 3. But I don't know. Wrong game. My bad.
No, it's all good. In my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, Jeff Sims, great running back, halfway okay quarterback. Last year, decent quarterback. 2 years ago, great running back, halfway okay quarterback.
Yeah. Until we get that one recruit that comes in and understands route concepts and progressions and makes the throw, we're just kind of stuck right now.
But I hate putting it all on Sims. It's not all Sims. It's the whole team. If the whole team would have stepped up, if the whole team could have got a stop on defense, if the whole team. So moving forward, because we could beat that dead horse until it's dead and then kill it again. TCU at Houston, 7 p.m. Fox game. This is going to be a fun game. TCU a couple days ago was favored at 7.5. The overs were set at 64.5. Both of these teams can put up lots of points. Both of these teams can falter, kind of like Nebraska did. And TCU favored 7.5. I don't know if they're going to get it done on the road, 7.5 at Houston. What do you guys think?
I got Houston. Watching TCU play, yeah. I mean, I know Houston just lost to Rice in double overtime, 43-41. Didn't have really a big test in the first week, but, we saw what they did against Colorado. TCU did against Colorado, and then played a nobody last week, putting up 41-6, padded their stats. I'll take Houston at home.
I'm going to go with TCU and unders. I know it's on the road, but I wouldn't take the 7.5.
I'm going to go TCU and over, but I'm not going to take that 7.5 either. I'm just looking right now at their total yards, and you're looking at almost 500 a game for TCU, but you're giving up that 414. So you're looking at both of these teams are just going to run up and down the field all game long. So I'm taking the over on that 68, and I think TCU will pull it out.
I went back and forth, and then the only reason I just kept it at unders, 64.5. If Houston has a chance, they have to get a couple stops. And also, TCU's defense somehow showed up against Nicholls State. Yeah, okay, not that big of a challenge.
Yeah.
And they allowed Colorado to score 42. I don't know if Houston's offense is as powerful as Colorado's, so that's why I went the unders route. But you're right. It could be a relay race, and it could be a crazy 80s over game. But for some reason, I'm thinking unders. That gets us through all of the ones that I had on here. But James wanted to hit LSU and Mississippi State, so I think we should do that one as well.
Oh, okay, yeah. I not a lot. If you look at the top 25 coming up this week, there's not a lot of. Actually, there's no really ranked teams playing each other. You got a Penn State, Illinois, blah blah blah. K-State, Missouri, both 2-0. I think that'd be a great game. But the LSU, Mississippi State. Steph, I like LSU a lot in this game. Rocky start. Obviously, you got Florida State, number 3 in the country, first game of the year. And that was weird. That was the first half. LSU, Florida State was amazing. And then whatever happened after halftime, LSU's adjustments went opposite, and Florida State took off, especially in the fourth quarter. So, but yeah, going to Mississippi State, somewhat of a rivalry game here. Mississippi State doesn't win enough. I like LSU. They're scoring a little bit better. I like their defense. 9.5 on the road. I'm not even going to touch the points, but I will say LSU will come out with the win this weekend. Early game, 11 a.m. You got to get up early, Steph.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Mississippi State's coach last year died unexpectedly. Heart attack, Mike Leach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Sounds right.
Yeah. So this year, Mississippi State took Arizona to overtime, 31-24 and 1. The previous week, wow, what is Sela? Who is that? The previous week, they beat Southern Louisiana Lions. So then I guess not a surprise there that they took them to the woodshed 48-7. And then, yeah, you were saying LSU dropped it to Florida State 45-24, but then came back and just hammered Grambling 72-10.
Yeah.
Mississippi State, granted, new coach, but same players that Leach brought in. They put up more rushing yards than passing yards. And that's why I wanted to mention Leach passing. Rest in peace, buddy. The air raid offense, you've changed college football's landscape dramatically and awesome. But new coach, new ideas.
Right, and that's what I didn't go into it, but like you said, a lot of the same players there. They had a few transfer out because of his passing, but they changed their identity, but I don't think their personnel has changed fast enough for it. So not even 200 yards passing in 2 games now, but they are averaging over 200 rushing. But on the flip side, LSU is really good against the run. Take that away from Mississippi State, make them one-dimensional.
And balanced. Over 300 yards passing, over 200 yards rushing on an average of 2 games for LSU.
Yeah.
Where Mississippi State is averaging just a few more rushing yards. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I say Mississippi State wins and sends LSU to a 1-2 start.
I disagree, man. I'm looking at Arizona and Southeast Louisiana as your 2 wins. That seems like a weak schedule for me for Mississippi State. Yet you should beat those 2 teams. You're in the SEC. You have better pool of players to pull from. Arizona, come on. They're in a just destroyed Pac-12 where you're not going to, you can compete, but it's not like the SEC. I'm going to take that LSU team to probably put a whooping on them. And I'm going to say, yeah, I don't know what the number is on that one for over-under and for the line, but I'm going to take LSU.
The line is 9.5 LSU, and the overs are set at 54.5.
I wouldn't touch either one of those.
I know, and that's
on the
why
road, I'm not.
It's a weird one, but I'm going to throw unders out there. Yeah. And again, it's play money. I don't actually bet. It doesn't matter what I say, but it's fun to say it and then look back and be like, man, you were full of crap.
I'll take the under then. I'm with you on that one.
Because looking back, so I put, and I'm going to bring it up again, Colorado-Nebraska game. I said Colorado by 9 and the unders. The overs were set at 59.5 and Colorado by 3. They won by, 14, 15?
I won by more than that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even remember what the final score was. It was so lopsided.
36-14.
There you go. And they didn't hit 59, so I hit the unders, definitely. And if you bet Colorado, yeah, they killed us by definitely more than 3.
They were saying that Colorado-Nebraska game last week was like one of the most bet games all
Right.
season so far.
Yeah.
Just was absolutely getting killed by the bettors. But they lost a lot of money because I think a lot of it was on Nebraska to win that and ended up not going their way.
Yep.
Weird. Yeah, Matt Rule, again, great coach, buddy. You've got a lot on your plate to turn this thing around, get that ship steered in the right direction. So we hope you get it done against Northern Illinois this week. And
Needs a couple years to bring in his recruits, though, I think, and get some guys who fit his style.
yeah, right. His game plan, he even said, I'm not like Dion. I'm not going to turn it around year one. It's going to take some time, and he's not to rush anything. I think it took him the second year before he got even above 4 wins at Baylor. It wasn't the first season he won one. I hope we don't go there, but you never know. All right, that is my timer to say, hey, we need to go on to the NFL. Today is Thursday, the 14th of September. So that means we have a prime game on the NFL. Vince Lombardi, winning is not everything, but wanting to win is. And I'm thinking tonight, both the Vikings and the Eagles want to win. Who wants to start?
Well, I hope the Vikes do. By the way, 4-3 last week. I missed the first 3 games. Chiefs getting upset. To me, Vikes getting upset at home by the Bucks. And then for some reason, the Bengals forgot to
Show up.
at all. But then I nailed my next 4, so it was a good start to the week. But yeah, so these Vikes and the Eagles have some injuries. They have 2 defenders starting out. They also have their starting running back out. So, man, I totally would have picked the Vikes from the get-go if they would have won last week against the Bucks. Now I'm in a pickle. It's at Philly, so sorry, Minnesota fans, and don't point the finger at Cousins. That defense is still really suspect, and they need to find a running game without Dalvin Cook. They made their bed. They need to lay in it and find the plays that work. But unfortunately, I'll take the Eagles at home on Thursday Night Football. Short week, didn't have to travel. Yeah, unfortunately, I say the Eagles, even without their starting running back, will make this.
And when I printed this line out, it was 2 days ago. It went down from 7 to 6. The Eagles are still favored, though.
I'm going to take the Eagles as well. I was watching some of the highlights of that Minnesota Buccaneers game, though, and Kirk Cousins, he needs to shape it up a little bit. He threw a couple of just bad interceptions and a couple of fumbles.
I think he had 2 touchdowns, 1 pick.
I thought he had a couple of fumbles, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I think that, first game jitters, not getting the snap right or whatever it is. But he had a couple of good throws, too. And if he continues that, especially with Justin Jefferson, he was finding him all over the field. Looked really good doing that. But I'm going to take Jalen Hurts and the Eagles to come out. I know goes against your team there, but
oh no,
that's okay. He picked him as well.
Yeah,
Even being a Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
And this is going to hurt me because being a Vikings fan, I have to go with Philly because everything you guys are saying. Kirk Cousins faltered last week. The Vikings are allowing over 246 yards a game. 170 yards passing. Yeah, they've clamped down on the rush yards, but also what they've put out production, rushing, under 45 yards a game. Yeah, that was just one against Tampa Bay, but you can't rush for over 45 yards.
That Bucs defense, especially that front line with Vita Vea, they are tenacious at best. And, they are real good. And I don't see the Eagles dropping off much of that. They were in the Super Bowl just a couple years ago. And it's like, that line gets them there. I would definitely see that running for the Vikings is probably not going to be the best, just like last week.
I agree. Yeah, everything you said, I concur 100% agreement with. The Philadelphia Eagles defense is as good or better than the Buccaneers, and their defensive line will shut them down once again. The over set at 49, though, I don't know if that's going to happen. Even with the Eagles win against New England, they only got to 45, and the Vikings only got to 37. So, again, my play money, I would take the unders. But
I'll take the under on that one as well. I don't think we're going to get to 49. Definitely not.
And unfortunately, I'm just noticing that this game looks like it's on Prime Video. So it might not be one we can even watch or take a peek at unless you got Amazon Prime. So you might have to catch the replay on the NFL Network.
yeah, or wait for like what I do, the highlights. So moving on. So Ravers. It's a brand new expansion team, the Ravers. Ravens and Bengals at Cincinnati. Bengals 1-0, Bengals 0-1. Sunday noon CBS game. And a few days ago, the line stayed the same. Bengals 3.5, over set at 46.5.
I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals in this one because the Ravens are just beat up. And I'm looking at injuries here, and you got running backs out, tight end questionable, and out, injured, reserve. You can't get beat up like they did in the first week and continue on in the season with just winning ways. At some point, you're into your second and third string guys, and you got like nothing left. I think we get a bounce back this week from Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and I think we'll see a pretty good game there. What was your over at?
46.5.
Oof. And two defensive teams in the AFC North? Yeah, right. I will take the Bengals and the under.
Bengals and unders.
Yeah.
All right, James, I'm going to let you go last because I know you have some friends and family that love this team. I'm going to go quick. I know they're at home, and I think that, Burrows could get it done. I think the Bengals win, but I think the Ravens cover. So Bengals win, Ravens covers, and definitely unders.
I'll be the lone wolf, whatever you want to call it. Greg, sorry you can beat me up at golf on Sunday. Cincinnati, I know it was one of those games that you talked about. It's the rain. Cincinnati and Browns played in rain. Wasn't great conditions. Once again, though, Burrow, didn't get enough reps that game because they couldn't stay on the field. Throwing a wet ball obviously hurt him. Not having any preseason, not having any offseason, he looked terrible. I picked the Ravens to win this division, and I'm going to pick them to win this first game in Cincinnati. And it all comes down to Cincinnati's offense right now is not good. Even if Burrow has a bounce back, I like Baltimore's defense. I do think they'll have another running back come in. Losing J.K. Dobbins to the same injury, Aaron Rodgers, torn Achilles, really hurts them. But they breed running backs. It's like linebackers. I mean, between the Ravens and the Bears, do they ever have a bad linebacker? You know what I'm saying? So, and whatever running back they bring in seems to be a top 5 in the country or in the NFL. So, I'm going to take the Ravens as much as it pains me. I hope I'm wrong this week also in this game, but I really like Baltimore. Actually, and I still have them winning this division, especially as bad as Pittsburgh looked in week 1 also.
We're going to move on to the next game on our list here. We have the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Kansas City is favored. It has gone up 3.5, and the overs are setting at 51. I see the Jaguars getting it done at home. Unfortunately, this is going to be the first time KC has started 0-2 for a while, and the Jags are looking really stout. And I'm going to say Jags and unders.
Isn't it weird to say I'm excited for a Jaguars game? Because
Right.
this game, now that Trevor Lawrence is coming in and they're actually getting some wide receivers out, they're actually interesting.
And then add to the mix their head coach, Peterson, who allowed Nick Foles to win a Super Bowl at the Eagles. He's now helping an even more talented quarterback in what you're saying with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
It is.
Absolutely.
It's a very exciting time to be a Jaguars fan.
I'm looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be just a shootout. And I'm taking the over on that 51. But I'm thinking we're getting a bounce back from Kansas City. And I'm going to take them at the -3. But I'm thinking, we're going over 51 easy.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking like a 31-28 kind of game. Maybe 35-28, something around there. Where we're just going to have shootout. And I'm interested in it.
It'd be great because the Jags and the Colts put up 52.
Yeah.
And then when Kansas City lost to Detroit, it was 41. So that's why I'm thinking Kansas City's defense keeps it a little bit lower, and they just come in just under that. But James?
I'm with the Jags also. One thing we're talking about interesting to watch, they're not the 3-and-outs. They're not the sloppy play. Even Trevor Lawrence, obviously his rookie year didn't look great, but he's grown. And that's what I wanted to see coming into this year. They finished strong last year, lost to Kansas City in the playoffs, right? So their last loss technically was them. They went undefeated in the preseason, won their first game. So they're playing great football. They're winning. So that's contagious, right? And they're at home. If they was at Kansas City, I probably would pick them. Like last week, I didn't pick Detroit because it was in Kansas City. They came out and executed a great game plan. Tried to give it away at the end. Thankfully for them, that Ladarius Toney dropped very key passes for him. But so I think Kansas City's woes will continue mainly in the receiving side. Kelsey's questionable. I honestly think he'll play.
I think he will too.
Yeah. And Jones signed his contract, so the defensive line shores up a little bit against the run. But I think Jacksonville's really balanced, again, at home. Yeah, Kansas City starts 0-2, and then all the what-ifs, and with, what's his name, the offensive coordinator that left?
Eric Bieniemy.
Eric Bieniemy leaving. Is this a Reed Mahomes? They're going to start a storyline that's not there. It's just a team out of sync right now. Kansas City will be fine. They're going to win the West. Don't worry, you KC fans. They're going to win the West. It's just going to be an 0-2 start, and then we'll move on.
If Kelsey plays, his head's not in the game. And I'm going to say the most ridiculous thing ever. The most ridiculous thing ever about Travis Kelce and who he's supposedly hanging out with.
Oh, I saw that.
So even if he plays, you haven't seen the news. You have no idea.
No.
Okay, so weeks and weeks ago, he made all these friendship bracelets because he was going to go to a Taylor Swift concert, and he was talking to his brother on their podcast about it, and he put his phone number on the bracelet, and he wanted to give it to her, but she doesn't meet people before the show because I guess she sings like a ridiculous 8,000 songs at her concerts. I know that's
3-hour show, by the way.
Yeah, it's a 3-hour show. So anyway, she doesn't talk to anybody to save her vocal cords, and he, I'm quoting, I got really butthurt. I didn't get to meet her and give her my bracelet. So he's saying this, and her people found out about it, and they have since met and have hung out, I guess. So if Kelsey plays, in his mind, all he's going to think about is Taylor Swift. So,
but he could be showing off for her and ball out. 10 catches, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns.
You're right. It's what happens.
And if he does, I'm probably playing him against him in fantasy this week. That's how it always goes.
Okay, so there's my most ridiculous stat line that if Kelsey plays, his head's not in the game. Moving on to the Packers and the Falcons. Falcons. Green Bay was favored just a couple of points a few days ago, and the line has moved down to 1.
Yeah, this is definitely a pick 'em.
And wow, Falcons at home. Falcons looking good. Beat Carolina 24-10. Last week, Jordan Love looked really good.
Defense looked really good, honestly. I was surprised that finally they're starting to mesh, and they're starting, even with Justin Fields being such a mobile quarterback, I really felt that they contained him and did a good job of keeping him in the pocket, getting a couple of sacks, reading his eyes, get that 1 pick 6. And I see Dustin Ritter as kind of a lesser Justin Fields. I'm really actually looking forward to the Packers to play the Vikings and the Lions later in the season because you're going to get that less mobile quarterback. And I really think their defense is going to come out and just ball out during those games. I'm picking Jordan Love and the Packers. And, with the pick 'em, I'm going to avoid those points, but I will take that over 40.5. Because, they dang near made that themselves last week. So I think 40.5 is a low number, and I think you definitely take the over on that.
And Peter is our Green Bay fan in the house. Yeah, Roger's not here as an Atlanta fan, but we do have Peter in here as the Green Bay fan.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Falcons. They're at home. That 1 point, everything on paper, all the numbers say pick the Packers because the yards passing and their their allowed defense with yards rushed and yards passed, what their defense can do. Everything on paper says it should be Green Bay. For whatever reason, I'm sticking with the home team here, and I'm taking the Falcons. And I'm going to go with the unders. I'm on an unders.
You
I'm
were
on an
just
unders
hitting
kick.
all the unders, man.
And I kind of did that last week as well.
I wanted Atlanta, and I was going to pick them all the way until right now. And it all comes down to their rushing yards given up over 150 to a Carolina team. I don't think that is that good. I still have Atlanta winning the South. Again, last week I said Green Bay being underdogs to the Bears I have no idea how that was. And Green Bay, like you said, defensively balled out. Offensively, they showed up 30-plus points. And, I mean, halfway through the second, the game was pretty much like, wow, Chicago can't do anything, right? I really, really like Atlanta's defense. I mean, what they did to Carolina with the different looks they gave Bryce. I'm worried about Jordan Love in this for the same reason. Like the different looks, is he going to be able to figure out what the defense is doing in time? To me, they need to flip the script. 250 passing game one, 92 rushing. They need 150 rushing this game and maybe 200 passing. Keep the ball on the ground. Keep their defense rested and Atlanta's defense on the sideline. I'm sorry, Atlanta's offense on the sideline.
They got the backs to do it, too, with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones.
100%. And that's what I'm leaning. I like the fact that they can run the ball. I just need them to do it. So I'm going to take Green Bay. That is totally unlike me. I mean, like I said, I was ready to pick Atlanta, looking at everything right now. And I'm going to take Green Bay on the road to beat Atlanta in a very close one. But, yeah, I definitely think it goes over, though. I see both teams scoring at least 17-20.
Yeah, it wouldn't take much. I was going to say the overs are low at 40.5.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really low.
Yeah. So, I can see a 2024 would be up there. But, yeah, I like the Packers. Inside the dome, we don't have to worry about the weather, right? So, at Mercedes Stadium, I really would like to get to myself. I know it's a side note, but that stadium looks amazing.
Moving on so we can get all these games in here. Bucks at home against the Bears. A few days ago, I looked at the line. It was 3. It has moved down 0.5 point. It is now Tampa Bay by 2.5. And the overs went down 0.5 point. They're now at 41. Again, I said it last week. I'll say it again. Baker Mayfield has to prove the league wrong, and he's got a chip on his shoulder. X amount of teams he's been through in the last few years, and he wants to prove everybody wrong. And he did it last week, and I think he does it again. I think Tampa Bay wins against the Bears.
I don't got much of a guess on this one. This one seems just to be an oddball for me. That was a lot of how I felt last week about the Bucks and Vikings. This Bucks team just really doesn't. I don't have a feel for him yet this year, and we're gonna see how Baker does. And yeah, he was out there just shouting at people last week. And I don't know if you guys watch any of the Good Morning Football stuff, but he ended up winning the scepter this week for the angry run because he took some Vikings guy head off, and then he was chirping at him on the sideline there. So he won that, and I got this one as a pick 'em. I'm taking the Bucks. I'm not going to touch the points or the overs. I'm going to say under on this one, and I'm going to say Tampa Bay wins just because I don't think the Bears are in a position to do very well. They really look out of sorts. So I'll take the Bucks and the under.
I said Bucks, and I'm gonna hit the overs on this one. This is one of the few overs because it just feels like even if they both hit 21, well, there you hit your 41.
I've just taken the whole team. Whoever was home team, I would have taken it. I'm with Peter here. Baker only 170 yards passing, did have 2 touchdowns, 21 of 34, and didn't even make 200 yards. Fields similar 24, but he had just over 200 yards with a pick. Bucks really great on run defense. I think it's going to be, I don't even know the score. I won't even go out on a limb, but just give me Tampa Bay because they're at home.
Yeah, the main reason I went over is both teams' pass defense is a little suspect. Tampa Bay last week in a win allowed 344 yards passing, and in Chicago's loss, they allowed 245 yards passing. So that's the reasons I went with the overs. Moving on. Jets fly into Dallas. James, I'm going to let you start with that one.
Yeah, and I thought it was great that Dallas wins a game 40-0, and all the talk was what the Giants didn't do. They really didn't give the Cowboys much. They tried to fill it in with I'm not even talking about the offense. Dak was terrible. Running game was mediocre. Tight ends dropped 3 passes, including a touchdown. But on the other side of the ball, there's no game you watched last week, except maybe the 49ers. Only 2 teams impressed me all weekend was the Niners and the Cowboys, mainly on the defense. And obviously special teams blocked field goal for a touchdown. But this game's kind of a lot less, right? Aaron Rodgers is out, so it's not Aaron Rodgers with a new team fighting the Cowboys in Dallas Stadium. It's Zach Wilson, who didn't look great. And just a flashback to Nebraska, Minnesota, Josh Allen did everything he could to give that game away. 4 turnovers on opening night at home. On the road. And you still had to take overtime to lose the game. I mean, he literally gave the game to the Jets every chance he had. If I'm a Bills fan and a Nebraska fan, I feel for you. It was a tough season to start with. I got Cowboys easy, obviously. Zach Wilson, that offensive line, Aaron Rodgers took the ball 3 times. All 3 times he had somebody in his face. One he injured, by the way, wasn't a cheap tackle. If you guys haven't seen it, just the way his foot went in the ground and snapped his Achilles. This defense, if they play half of what they did against the Giants, the Jets are in for a world of hurt. 8.5, that's a laugher. It'll be a double-digit win. So, yeah, give me everything. Give me the 8, I'll give the 8.5. I'll take the overs in Dallas.
It's gone to 9.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. It's going to be a double-digit win, Dallas, and it'll be the overs.
And the unders went to 38. They dropped.
Okay. Dallas is scoring 40 this game. I said last week Dallas is going to score 30-some, right? And when I think Darryl was talking about taking the unders, I said, no, Dallas is scoring 30 on their own. They could have had 50. If that offense would have clicked a little bit, could have had 50. But who cares? 40 is great, and they'll do it again this week.
Okay, so I'm glad you mentioned that. And you nailed it. You said Cowboys double digits in the overs. The overs were set at 46, and since the Giants didn't score, the unders hit.
Right.
Which is weird.
I would have never, even I saw Peter at work, and we talked about the score, and he goes, oh, they're up 26-0. I said, yeah, they won't get the shutout, but they're going to win.
But you show me a game where somebody scores 40 points and they don't hit the overs. Well, yeah, right. A game when the Giants don't score anything, that's when it happens.
Right.
So somehow I got the unders right with the Cowboys still scoring 40. Yeah. And that's why this week I'm going Cowboys and unders because of the Jets defense. Somehow the Jets defense figured out how to shut down the Bills.
Yeah.
And they did it. So
I got a couple of real good cornerbacks and safeties out there.
Yeah.
Playing some good D on the outsides with the wide receivers. Yeah.
So I'm still taking Cowboys, but I'm going to stick with the unders on this one just for the sole reason the Jets defense.
I'm going to take Dallas, and I'm with James on the 9 points. I'm definitely taking over that. The Jets' offensive line is atrocious. It is so bad. And a lot of the talk this week is, do they bring in a veteran quarterback? And my opinion on this is that I don't think you can, because a lot of times with your veterans, they don't move. They just stand there in the pocket and they're going to get crushed. That's what happened with Rodgers. You need someone almost like Zach Wilson who can run and get out of the pocket, because he's going to be under pressure so much, especially with Dallas's defense and how many points they affected last week and what they did. He is going to be just getting absolutely mauled all game long. And if he doesn't get hurt, it would be impressive. I would say we're looking at a Dallas win by definitely double digits. And the Jets, I don't think they're going to be scoring much. I'm going to take the under on the 39, though. I will take Dallas to cover with double-digit win.
I think it's amazing everything you said about the Jets and their offensive line. So you spend so much money on a quarterback and you refuse to protect him. They refused to protect Zach Wilson last year.
They did try. They got some 39-year-old tackle, though, and it's like, why? Why did you do that?
So exactly. So that you nailed my point. You spend that much money on a quarterback and you don't go out and find new talent to protect your quarterback. And they haven't done it for the last 3 years. So
that's my thing right there is over the seasons, they have seen the teams that are winning do it in the trenches first. and the Jets refused to address that offensive line.
It's like a couple years ago when the Bengals played the Rams in the Super Bowl. Everybody knew the Rams were going to win because the Bengals' offensive line was trash. The only thing that kept them in the games was Joe Burrow.
Yep.
And he was sitting there getting just rushed all the time because their line was terrible.
I've said this. You've said it. James has said it. It didn't matter that Aaron Rodgers went there because you can't protect him.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing, Aaron Rodgers got hurt. And Zach Wilson looked better because he knew what to expect. He knew once he got the ball, he had half a second to find a receiver or move and shift the pocket because he knew everybody was coming after him. And he's played an entire season like that. And he knew what to expect. Aaron Rodgers moved the pocket in Green Bay, but he knew that he had at least 2 seconds of time before he had to.
He had a couple of good tackles, though. Bakhtiari.
Yeah.
I mean, they went out and made him one of the highest paid tackles for that reason, because he was good. He protected. He had some injury issues, but I mean, you have to bring in those kind of guys who are going to keep your man upright.
So I say kudos to Aaron Rodgers for not lambasting the Jets after being hurt game one after a trade and not having his team go out and do a better job of protecting him. I think everybody but the Jets organization saw this happening, that Aaron Rodgers would not have enough time. And now he has a ruptured Achilles or torn Achilles because he didn't have enough time and an awkward tackle.
It sounds like on the ESPN, though, today that they were saying he vows to come back next season.
Yeah,
Because otherwise
he
he's
tweeted
the
out.
Sure he
$1
does.
million second to man.
Sure he does.
Yeah.
Because it was $75 million signing bonus and he played 75 seconds.
And the
Sure he does.
unfortunate part for Green Bay is all he had to do was do 65% of the snaps, and they were going to get a number 1 pick for him. Now, obviously, he's not going to get that. So Green Bay gets a number 2 pick, or second round pick, instead of a first round pick. So Green Bay fans were just as heartbroken when he went out, because they're like, we could have got a first round pick out of this. And now he's obviously not going to make the stuff for the trade. So they're just going to get a second round pick for that Aaron Rodgers trade.
Kevin Durant had a ruptured Achilles, came back, and is still Kevin Durant. He's pretty darn good. Cousins, Boogie, had a ruptured Achilles, came back. Wasn't the same, still a great basketball player, but just wasn't the same. Aaron Rodgers is 40 next year.
40 in December.
Not the same.
No.
Right.
You have to sit around and you have to rehab that one leg. Not the same. Buddy, yeah, I want you to come back. I want you to be good, but you're going to have a lot of things go right, and that's going to be tough.
But here's the thing. All the time he was in Green Bay, he really didn't want to teach Jordan Love anything because this is the guy that you brought in to take my job. I don't really want. And now you're going to spend an entire season in the quarterback room with Zach Wilson. Is he going to do the same thing where this guy's come to take my job, or is he actually going to put his pride to the side and say, hey, yeah, man, you got to go here, you got to go here, you got to be looking at this, this, and this. Is he actually going to do some teaching?
It depends. Does he want to coach once he gets out, or does he want to be weirder and weirder and go to Hollywood and date more starlets?
I think he's going to be weirder, and he's going to end up on some sort of game show or doing something like that, he's going to end up in the public eye somewhere. I think on TV, kind of like what we see with Troy Aikman.
Fair enough.
Only thing I would say with his injury, with today's medicine, like AP came back from his ACL, came back great. Granted, he's 40. I think he'll heal fine. I think he's wants to give it a real shot to go out on top. I think he'll come back fine.
All right, last game. We're already over the hour mark. The Commanders at my Broncos, and somehow the odds makers have the Broncos favored. 3.5 overs have gone up to 39. This pains me. Commanders in Denver, and that stinks that I have to say that, but yeah.
I got no feeling on this game at all, but I'm going to take the Broncos, and I'm not going to say with any points or with an over. I'm going to say Broncos and the under. I don't think either one of these offenses is going to impress this week, and I'm not looking at this. I'm looking at this being a snoozer. One you turn to find something else.
And it's weird it got the 3 o'clock time zone. I'm sure because it's on the West with Denver. Again, I don't know how they were favored against the Raiders. obviously it showed. Washington goes into Denver and does the same thing. It'll be another, snooze fest, 12-9 field goal factory win for Washington. I liked what Sam Howell did last week. It looked like Wilson was same old Wilson. No, over 27 completions. He didn't even make 200 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. Couldn't run the ball. Washington didn't run the ball very well either. I think they went against a tougher defense in Arizona, but I'll take Washington on the road to win this game.
All right. And that brings us to our final thoughts and James's Today in Sports.
One of my final thoughts is we need to get off this horse of Josh Allen being an elite quarterback. Right now, if you Google, he's number 3 behind Mahomes and Burrow, then it's Josh Allen number 3. The what have you done for me lately? Besides turn the ball over, by the way, the most since he's been in the league. 84 times he has turned the ball over. And one of the things me and Daryl talked about, if you want to be the great, the best at your position, you got to protect the ball. You can't give it away. And since 22 to now, he's turned it over the most. Since he's been in the league, he's turned it over the most. 63 interceptions. The rest are obviously lost fumbles. He does run the ball a lot. They have him. Obviously, Justin Herbert doesn't have a lot of career, but I'd take Lamar Jackson. Obviously, right now, Trevor Lawrence is below him. Dak Prescott, which everybody can say what they want about him, but he doesn't do anything different than what Josh Allen is doing. Is I played great in some games and big games under the lights. I falter. I mean, look at Josh Allen last few times against Cincinnati, last few times against Kansas City. He can't beat the teams he needs to beat to get them to the big dance, right? Since Burrow's got in the league, he hasn't made it to the championship game. I'm not saying he's not a really, really, really good quarterback. You know, I'm sure Miami would take him over to Browns would take him over to Deshaun Watson. Obviously, Bears and Vikings would take him, but to put him as an elite until good grief, 84 turnovers and since 2018. You're just putting your team, and the Jets game was a perfect example of we did everything we could win, and our quarterback just didn't give us a chance anymore. So, to me, we got to get off of him being one of the best in the league until obviously you got to change down the turnovers. Even just, postseason, I was pulling up some stuff. Where did it go? Okay. Somehow no.
While you're looking.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. 5 turnovers in the postseason. 4 of them are interceptions. Quarterback ratings of a 69, 94, and 80. So 5.7 yards a pass, averaging 7.6, decent. But again, the postseason where you need to win, I just don't see it. So it's one of those thoughts. I'm watching that game and watching him play. Even that last drive in overtime, he couldn't even get a team a first down. A first down to keep the chains moving.
There was a couple of his throws in that game. They were punts. It was just like bombs. And it's like, your guy has no chance. You're going into double coverage. Like, why are you throwing that ball?
All right, Today in Sports.
All right. One of the big things, so baseball, we talk about how, me and Roger always talk about how these guys don't go 7 innings anymore, barely get any complete games. We don't even see 20-win pitchers. 1968, Detroit's Denny McClain won his 30th victory. 30 victories as a starting pitcher in baseball. Pretty amazing. We're all familiar with this. Cal Ripken in 1987, he ended his streak, 8,243 consecutive innings, about 908 games. On this day, it finally ended, and I believe it was a knee injury, I think, that he was unable to start at shortstop for the Baltimore Orioles. Ended his streak right there.
I have 2 running backs that I want to mention for Today's in Sports. 1986, Walter Payton rushes for 177 yards, reached the 15,000-yard plateau, scores his 100th career rushing touchdown as the Bears beat the Philadelphia Eagles 13-10. And then in 1991, a guy by the name of Marshall Falk, might have heard of him, halfway decent. Halfway decent guy. San Diego State rushes for an NCAA record, 386 yards, scores not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not even 6, but 7 touchdowns. in his second collegiate game. Goes on to set the NCAA record for most rushing touchdowns in a game by a freshman, and the Aztecs walloped Pacific 55-34. 7 touchdowns as a freshman.
I watched several. Once he started making himself on the map, ESPN started playing San Diego State games, the West Coast time, right? Late. I loved watching that guy run. They'd have all 11 guys literally standing 2 yards off the line of scrimmage, and somehow he'd 7-8 yard gain.
386 yards. That's your total offense.
He was part of that greatest show on turf, wasn't he?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I was thinking that was the
Yes,
same
he
guy.
was.
Yep.
All right, for anybody who watches YouTube, please click that like button and subscribe. Anybody who listens to us on Spotify, hit that follow button. Peter, any other final thoughts?
Hopefully, we're going to see some better games this weekend. We saw a lot of rain last week, and I think once we get the sunshine this weekend, we're going to have some better quarterback play, some more catches. I know my fantasy team was suffering last week. There was not a lot of yards by hardly anybody, so we will hopefully see some more yards and some better completions.
I would love to see that out of Nebraska, but I'm not going to hold my breath. James?
I'm good.
All right. Everybody, thanks for listening. Go watch some sports.